Yo guys, what's up? It's Deniz from Deniz World of Bodybuilding, and today I want to talk about not the athlete in this picture, but the man who is on the left side, the Godfather of Bodybuilding, rest in peace, Joe Weider. Joe Weider is a great person in my book, okay? He was not only an entrepreneur and a businessman in bodybuilding, but he was also a man, who really loved the sport of bodybuilding, and he really actively helped and supplied the athletes with anything they wanted. Money, publishments, contracts, and everything. He also co-founded the IFBB with his brother Ben Weider. IFBB, everybody knows it, IFBB Pro. He also co-founded it with his brother. He was the creator of the Mr. Olympia contest, which is still to this day the biggest contest in the world. And he was also the publisher of Muscle and Fitness, Flex magazine, Men's Fitness, Shape, and more magazines. So he was just awesome. He did so much, in the sport of bodybuilding. It's just unbelievable. A lot of people, and most of the people, will know him for his relationship with Arnold Schwarzenegger. He was the man who brought him up from a small village in Austria to LA, California. People asked themselves, why was the Mecca, and why was it in LA? Because, one important reason was that Joe brought the people to LA to train there at Gold's Gym, and he supplied them with contracts to live as a bodybuilder, to concentrate on the sport of bodybuilding. For example, Arnold Schwarzenegger was telling Joe that he had a friend called Franco Columbo, and Franco was just in Germany at that time, and he said that he should, bring him over to America too, to the States too, and Joe, did it. Joe did it, and Franco went to LA too. So the Mecca was the bodybuilding. The Mecca of bodybuilding was in LA, Gold's Gym, and the athletes trained there. Some of them made money even in the 70s, and when 80s came, the 90s came, and Joe's empire was increasing, and that meant that the athletes' well-being increased. He was so impassioned with the sport that not only when he was young and had to do it maybe financially to make a living, but even that later, in his later years, when he was also already, completely supplied with enough money for the rest of his life, and more, even more, he was a multimillionaire. He still continued going to the contest, shaking hands with the athletes, giving out their checks, giving out their contracts, and looking out for them personally. Look at that picture, for example, of Ronnie Coleman. Everybody knows, Ronnie for having that BSN deal, but BSN was at the very end of his career. Before that, it was completely Joe Weider. He supplied, he gave Ronnie Coleman the contract with yearly increases. Athletes back then in the 90s, they didn't have like 1 year contracts and then they were fired. They had 10-15 years contracts, so they had a contract the contract was at least as long as the athlete was competing at the Mr. Olympia, of course. Guys like Nasser El Somebody, they had like 15 years contracts, Dennis James too, other athletes too, even if they were not doing that good in big parts of their career and everything. So back then the top 10, top 15 didn't have that big issues of making a living off bodybuilding. They could completely concentrate on the sport. They didn't have to have 10 sponsors, one sponsor for egg whites, one sponsor for protein, one sponsor for veggies, one sponsor for meals. They could have only one sponsor, Weider, and do good, do a living, exist in bodybuilding, and compete like they want to compete. And that's awesome. So I took my time to make a video on Joe. I think that people shouldn't forgive him. People should think about his legacy. You will rarely find the athletes talking bad about Joe Weider, the athletes who, you know, met Joe Weider and knew him personally, of course. So Arnold is still thankful. You know, Joe was getting one of his closest friends, and a lot of athletes are thankful for Joe. And I, as a fan, I'm thankful too for Joe, because he was a big part of doing the sport good and getting the sport where it is today. The Mr. Olympia contest is still Joe Weider's Mr. Olympia contest. It's still the biggest contest, and it will probably for a very, very long time be and stay the biggest contest in bodybuilding. So after he's sadly passed, things changed and it got worse, in my opinion. Like you all know, last year, this year, we made so many videos. Everybody was making so many videos how the athletes have a big hard time, you know, to just exist as a bodybuilder, even if they are top 10, top 15. It wasn't like that when Joe was living. That's my opinion and my view on it when I search on the history. So what's your opinion on this? Subscribe to my channel. Do you have any memory of, you know, considering Joe Weider? Wish you all the best. Bye.